For this series of 3 poems, I'm going to concentrate on the international aspect. So I'm going to kick off with Zimbabwe, and then I'm going to move to Ireland, and I'm going to come up to date with Norway. The problem with many freedom fighters is that when they attain power, they cannot let go of it. So that the great things they achieved early in their lives are obliterated by the evils that they perpetrate at the end. This poem, Falling Down, traces one such leader. Falling Down. Dr. Mugabe knew one secret. He found it in a learned book. So when he saw a great white tree, he shook and shook until the leaves fell into the dust, and the roots were ripped from the earth, and the tree crushed the ground, as all rotten trees must. Dr. Mugabe strode out of the forest of dead trees with an AK-47 in one hand. On his back, he carried a bag of promises, gifts to be spread throughout the land. The greatest promise he kept inside, a song of freedom that could never be denied. Dr. Mugabe put his feet under our table. He took the food from our plate. When the water from our wells ran dry, we realized too late that of the song of freedom there was no sound, and the bag of promises was nowhere to be found. Dr. Mugabe grew old. His women all grew fat. His brothers all wore sharp white suits and smiles like the proverbial cat who crept into our house and stole the cream. And the song of freedom became a distant dream. Before it came to this, if only he had time to sit with the old men in the shade, watching the ants, such industrious insects, build great cities out of mud and shit, and he would have known, like them, that warriors seldom make the best architects, and the elders would have told him without hesitation that if you yearn to build a nation, there's one big snag. You can't imprison freedom in your own bag. The second poem brings us nearer home, just across the Irish Sea, in fact. It's hard for me to believe that the events described in this narrative poem took place 39 years ago. I'm referring, of course, to the events of Bloody Sunday. I've been taken to task for the title of the poem, which is The Ballad of 13, because in actual fact there were 14 victims of that day's event. However, the 14th man did not die for some 2 or so months after the event, and so I stuck with the number of the people who died on the day itself. The Ballad of 13. Bogside, Sunday. Red mist calling. Stumbled onto cobbled street. Bleary, angry. No more falling. Steady now on swollen feet. Paris sweating. Faces twitching. Huddled. Cursing in the dark, trigger fingers raw and itching, barrack rage about to arc. Placards, banners clatter, voices, heaving surges, just can't wait. Comes the moment for the choices. Pick the stone, select your fate. Buttons beating, riot black shields, visors lowered, hidden eyes, tear gas flooding concrete fields, enclosing us where feeling dies. Useless chanting, fractured hymns, bloody, bloody, bloody faces, bloody broken limbs, desecrated, once safe places. Cold intention through the gun sight, old man dangling, feckless lout, a bullet's distance through the night. Ready? Snuff his lights right out. Father Daly, ducking, waving, bullets screaming round his head. What's the point, you ask, in saving bodies when our souls have fled? Neatly labelled, features flat, 13 corpses stacked like lumber. No need tell a dairyman, 13's an unlucky number. The third poem came after the mass shootings in Norway, and the revelation that the shooter described himself on his website as a Christian fundamentalist. So the poem's called Fundamentalism. Which element of the Christ myth inspired him to stride out firing from the hip? The parable of the sower, spreading cartridge cases instead of seed, planting an island of corpses in place of the stony field. The example of the Good Samaritan, who finds it justifiable to put the victims of thieves to death rather than turn to their wounds. The guest at the wedding feast, he amused himself, transforming wine into blood. Blessed are the gunmen. It is easier for the meek to inherit the kingdom of heaven with the squeeze of a trigger. Love thy neighbour with a single shot to the head. Suffer, little children.